intersection of manufacturing and digital transformation. I have today Martin Lääts of Evocon with me, and we talking about OEE measuring in manufacturing. Hello, Martin.
Hello, Marcus.
To dive right into it, tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Thank you for having Evocon on the show. Hope it will be interesting for all the readers. On my side, well, actually, most of all my professional life, I've been involved with Evocon. So that's the 12th year running now. I've done various different roles in the company, starting from doing marketing, sales, support, design. Now I'm mostly involved with product strategy and just guiding the product forward and making sure that it is providing value to our customers in around the world.
And what's your role right now at Evocon?
Well, I'm one of the co-founders, but I'm also head of product. So what that means is I basically go through every single product idea we get from our clients. I try to do my best to prioritize on the developments and the roadmap that would bring most value to our clients around the world. And I work closely with all our clients, with our team. So it's a very varied position depending on the day, but I like to think of it in terms of making sure that the product stays relevant and useful for our clients.
As everything is always changing and you need to adapt over time.
Yes, absolutely.
What do people need to know about Evocon other than you guys are based in Tallinn, Estonia?
Well, I guess we can start from the location because it's not a known place. Although it should be, but I think it was Forbes who said that Estonia is one of the most digitalized societies in the world. I think we have the highest per capita ratio of unicorns in Europe. So it is a small country, but it's very well versed in IT. So that's where we are basically based, and I think that's part of, or at least I like to think that's part of our success story. The other part, I think, what is also important to know about Evocon is that we do a standard solution for manufacturers. I think that's a bit different, I would say, from what I see and I've seen over the years. So a standardized approach versus a customized approach. So what we provide is a standardized approach, and that is one of the reasons why I think we have been so successful.
Yeah, which is the product approach. You buy the product out of the box. There's a little bit of customization, but it just rolls, and it's no customization and a lot of time and efforts and also money into a custom solution spent.
Absolutely. Which also means that you can get up and running very, very quickly. Depending on the client or depending on the manufacturer, you can get up and running in a few hours, or maybe it will take a day.
That's right. And by the way, here in the back is a Evocon unit, the IoT
yes.
Edge. You see this spinning disc. There are a couple of QR codes on it, and the readers up here read that. That's a different product, what we offer here at DigitalituM as well, the iOS readers. And there's actually over here, we do not really see it, a light barrier which indicates every rotation of the disk. And this data get uploaded into the Evocon platform and visualized there. And the entire setup took maybe 15 minutes, something like that. So very easy to set up. I think entering the Wi-Fi password was the most complex task.
Yes, it could be that. Yeah, and we hope to make it easier in the future. But yeah, I think that's a very good point that it does. Like if you have a bit of technical background, then setting up is just a matter of minutes.
So talking further about the application of Evocon, how would you describe your product in a nutshell?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I have to choose my words carefully because the sentence should be short. I think it's the easiest solution to start monitoring your production. I have high confidence in saying that because we've done numerous interviews with our clients, and they all say that what they value most about the product is the simplicity and ease of use. And they do not want that to change. So Yeah, that is what I would say.
And let's break that down now in elements. Is that a hardware solution? Is it a software solution? Is it a combination of both?
And it depends on the setup, of course. It depends on the client and the
But
manufacturing
let's
process.
say a typical setup.
A typical setup does involve hardware. It does involve
Mm-hmm.
the same device that you were showing in the background.
Mm-hmm.
It involves usually a very standardized sensor to count the pieces on a production line, or an encoder if we're measuring rolling length, basically, or be it feet or meters. And then it involves a display. So again, depending on the industry, whatever is the necessity, it can be a tablet, it can be a PC with a monitor, it can be a large screen, touch screen. So fairly simple, fairly straightforward. But yeah, in most cases, you need our device and our sensor and a few cables that we provide,
Mm-hmm.
and internet. And
Yeah.
if internet is a challenge, then we also have a 4G version of that device in your background, which makes it even easier to get going.
Which means it is a cloud application. So the edge device is putting the data into the cloud, and then in the cloud, it can be visualized or analyzed and visualized, and through a web browser application on any type of hardware, smartphone, tablet, computer, you can view the data.
Absolutely. Basically, you take that piece of hardware, set it up, as you said. It might take you 20, 15 minutes. Just go to app.evocon.com, log in, and start. First, you see what is going on, and then by understanding what is all going on, you analyze it and then can make decisions. So it is a very, very, very straightforward process.
And what are typical use cases and applications you see out in the industry?
I think the most typical use case, or the problem that our clients start off with, is understanding how their machines are running. So
Mm-hmm.
basically uptime, how much of my machines are up and how much of my machines are down or lines. That's the most typical. And I think that's also where the first value is perceived easiest, because I think there's a very easy correlation between having my machines running 20% more and the value that you get from that. So understanding uptime and understanding then the reasons for downtime,
Mm-hmm.
or in other words, machine utilization, or whichever word that the client is using, but the idea is there.
And there are now different ways, of course, to get the data from the shop floor. And there are many companies out there which say their solution is the best. In general, I would say there are two ways. Either you connect straight to that PLC of that machine and get the data out, which might have some difficulties if this OEM who programmed the PLC is willing to share this data, or you put some external sensors on it and capture the data through that. You guys do it the external data way with the IoT device, and therefore are universal and kind of easy approach to do it.
Yes, we do that. I think the majority of the use cases is that way. So
Mm-hmm.
using a sensor, but we can also connect to a PLC. If there's actually data being stored in a database, we can do a
Mm-hmm.
completely hardware free solution. So basically, we adapt to whatever the client situation is. But
Okay.
in most cases, sensors external are the key. We even have a case where we retrofitted the solution to a 50-year-old canning machine. So
Mm-hmm.
I would say that almost any machine can be made or digitized in this era with smart ways.
Tell us a little bit about that particular use case. How did you guys do that?
Well, it's we have a very very strong presence in Greece, and that's due to our very strong partner there.
Mm-hmm.
And in Greece, like the food industry is very very big, and there we have a client whose main process is canning, and he wanted to know if we can actually monitor the canning machine. So
Mm-hmm.
with a bit of thinking, we figured out how to use a sensor, because all we need to do is really count the cans. So it doesn't really matter how old or new the machine is, as long as we can count what is coming out from the machine. And as long as we know the time that we should be seeing in between cans, we can basically make a lot of the visualization possible, and a lot of the understanding can be done. So it was actually, I think, a fairly simple.
So then, more or less, with one digital input, a light barrier, something like this, measuring the cans running through, that alone as a data source is enough to get the insights out.
Absolutely. All you really need, like in most cases, is that one data point, and then obviously we need context. We need context of the speed. We need context of shifts and products. But that is all you really actually need. So I think the crucial point here is that for manufacturers who are sort of thinking about going digital or do using digital tools, that the first step is actually easy, and it doesn't really require much of an investment, which I think is very, very important to know and understand.
Yeah, and I would, as there are lots of different digital tools out there, I would consider Evocon in this low-hanging fruit area for people who want to get started, who haven't done much, who kind of feel behind on things, but also don't have the multi-million-dollar budget to get into digital transformation. To get started on Evocon, put a couple of this IoT edge devices in the manufacturing place, capturing the data, visualize it, and then also learn how to work with data and get away from gut feeling decision making on the shop floor to data-based decision making on the shop floor. Would you agree on that?
Absolutely. I mean, that's basically the origin story of Evocon. It was exactly that same problem, or same idea of not wanting to rely on gut or just like five different guesses on what is going on, and relying actually on data. So in a way, that's like the pattern that we see everywhere, and that's where the kind of where Evocon originated from.
Yeah, and in the year 2025, there's still a lot of manufacturing places, a lot of paper on the shop floor, handwritten whiteboards, or the whole operation is run on a couple of Excel sheets on different computers, and nothing is really synchronized to each other. Do you still see stuff like this as well?
Absolutely. I like to say that our biggest competitor is the pen and paper and the Excel sheet, the occasional Excel sheet, and this is. But I think it has been changing, I think, rapidly now in the past few years,
Mm-hmm.
which we've seen also in our own growth, because like since we are a bootstrap company, whatever basically we get, we put it back into the company, and we've seen very, very good growth in the past 5 years. I think that is a testament that this pen and paper era is starting to end, and manufacturers to realize that to be efficient, you actually need to rely on data.
Very good. Give us a few more other use cases in where the Evocon product is used, and what value brings it to specific clients, maybe in different sub-industries. We talked about already an example in food and beverage and canning. Do you have a different example?
Yeah, well, I'll start first from the main value, because, and I then go on to different industries. So the main value, what I would say, is that we provide transparency. We provide understanding on what is really going on. But the amount of times I've been in calls and in front of clients, and asking like, why do you even need, or why did you turn to us? Like the majority of times I hear the sentence, we want to know what is actually going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that really that is industry agnostic. And we have built Evocon to be industry agnostic. So yeah, we talked about food and beverage before, but we have clients in about 14 industries. Of course, it depends on how we define an industry, but in the majority of the industries we have. I think if I were to bring some examples to illustrate, then well, we have, again, in addition to being present in many industries, we also have customers of different sizes. So the canning example is a fairly small company. But we've done implementations for example, Yara International, who's producing fertilizers. There we did a global rollout in a matter of 18 months. So basically implementing Evocon on, it was 128 lines. And what there we provided was not like the local visibility, but actually global visibility. So connecting all these 100 plus sites with standardized loss tracking, and then providing their central management and understanding of what is going on, but then locally in each factory, in each region, and in the world. Another maybe interesting example is actually a guitar producer in the States. There we helped, I think at least the use case that I'd like to bring out, which was interesting to me, was that they used to rely on changing their filters every 2 hours instead of actually replacing the filters that we're using for painting after actual 2 hours of machine work time. So since we actually track the actual working time of machines, we can trigger the replacements or the maintenance checks at the actual times needed. And that resulted in, I think it was 80 million of cost savings or 8 million of cost savings. I checked the number, but for me, it was just realizing how small of a change you can do using data and how big of a result you can get. Another interesting example that I now remember is from construction industry. So basically the producer of tiles, there by actually bringing the visibility into how the machines are running, we then combined it with gas consumption, because for them, gas is a very important input into production. And by combining or seeing gas consumption together with production, they realized they were continuing to use gas while production was not ongoing. So that helped them realize there was a leak, which again, the leak was costing them about 2,000 euros, I think, an hour, and then extrapolating that to the entire year. So again, that's sort of a saving summed up to multiple millions. So I think this visibility is crucial, gaining visibility into what is going on. By understanding what is going on, there's so many things you can do, because then, as you said before, Marcus, you don't have to guess anymore. And then you don't have to rely on subjective opinions.
So at the end, it's understanding a problem, measure or get data, and then use the data to better understand the problem and come up with a solution, or in the examples you brought, actually get the savings out of it by
Absolutely.
figuring out leaks or production losses and all of this. And overall, with the Evocon solution, in a very easy way, but also in a very cost-efficient way. As to my understanding, there's another big system out there, the MES, the Manufacturing Execution System, which can do similar things, but it's also very complex, difficult and long compared to an Evocon solution to set up. It takes some time. There's a lot of learning involved to understand the complex data. How would you differentiate the Evocon solution from a classic MES system?
I think you already well put it. We are a simple tool. We don't strive to be an MES system, like with the complexities involved. We strive to be a tool that you can take and start to use immediately. So if you want results, I would recommend trying Evocon out, because you can just get started quickly. Like, as you said, the price, from the pricing point of view, there's not much you need to do also if you're a bigger company in terms of getting approvals and whatnot, because the budget is, I think, is like, to get started, it's non-existent. I think comparing like the budgets of large manufacturers, and we even have a free trial, so that makes it even more easier.
Yeah, it's a let's just say a couple of $100 subscription versus the 10,000, 100,000 investment in a MES solution just to get started.
Absolutely, yeah.
Is that a good comparison of numbers?
Well, yeah, it's hard to actually get numbers of bigger sort of solutions, but what I've heard and what I've kind of, I guess, like, thing to point out is that some of our some of the customers who turn to us have actually turned because their large projects have failed, because the implementation time is so long, then there's training, and then you don't even know if your people are going to use it due to this. And yeah, of course we can look at the cost in terms of implementation, everything, but the cost of losing the actual time that you either spent or didn't spend on improving your production is a cost that is hard to measure. So I think, yeah, we definitely differentiate on the ease of use and on the cost side, and just getting started.
Yeah, as a low-hanging fruit application for people who haven't done much in the digital space in measuring, are still this paper-driven, Excel-driven shop floor place, I would say Evocon there is the perfect solution to get started on your journey to digital transformation.
I agree.
Looking a little bit in the future, a big trend right now is AI. I've just been at the MX0 Digital Transformation Conference in Greenville, and every provider had some type of AI feature, and AI is the big topic what everybody is talking about. Going into the Evocon application, are you doing already something with AI and build that in your software?
We are doing R&D. We haven't yet launched any features. And that's largely because we don't want to be we don't want to just say we do AI without actually providing any value. I was listening to another podcast you had recently, and I think you touched upon a very crucial point, is that you can put the data in the AI engine, but if it's not reliable, then what you're going to get out is also garbage. So I think that's very, very true. And yes, we are working on actual use cases, which we are validating with our clients. We have a pretty good understanding where that value point could be, but we don't like to advertise anything before we actually know that it provides value. But hopefully we can launch something this year, but I'll be hush-hush about this.
I definitely look forward to see any announcements in what you guys do in that area. Just as a general question, where do you see the big benefits of AI for the industry?
I think the biggest benefit will be on making analysis easier, because there's just so much data to go about and to analyze, and to find the points that are actually relevant is very time consuming. So where I'm putting my sort of effort to try to figure out is how to make analysis easier, because at the end of the day, we need to, or we will try to bring out the patterns that are important, but then the human needs to take action and also validate whether those patterns are valid or not. Because some of these patterns can be there, but they might actually just be there for a reason. And it could be that some of the problems are known and are just not acted upon right now. So I think it's just going to be this interesting ping pong in like AI giving the user an insight where to look into, or just to kind of make the analysis faster, and then the person or the user taking action on that insight.
Yeah. Which is a good point, that the user, the human at the end is still the decision maker, and we're not on that pathway that AI is giving us all the decision making, and we as a human just need to trust it and do it, which then devalues our decision making.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And as the discussion I was alluding to, there was an important point there. I think data needs to be structured in a standardized way. So if it's not the conclusions made by the large language models or the analysis tools can be totally off. And then if it's totally off and making then decisions based on this inaccurate information, it can lead to, I think it actually make more harm than good.
Yeah. But I definitely see the need out there, as if we just looking back over the last decades, the complexity in manufacturing, in machines, in systems just got more and more and more complex. Like 50 years ago, a machine was pretty much a mechanical thing. and then come more electronics in it. And now in the last decades, even the software portion of machinery is getting bigger. And on the other end, the quantity and the quality of field service and maintenance people is not climbing up the same way. I would even argue it's going down as a lot of the older folks are getting retired. And the industry itself is not as attractive to get a lot of young people into the industry. And that gives that big gap, which then translates in unplanned downtime because a person is standing in front of a machine, doesn't know how to fix it, or maybe do something wrong and then causing further issues and further downtime. That's where I see, first of all, the information needs to be there and it needs to be available best on the device, what everybody of us carry anyway, to get further insights, which then help you in the decision-making process in how to fix this problem. And I see Evocon as a part of that information as well. Because if you know how a piece of machinery was running in the past, it gives you insights in what could be a potential problem.
I think you touched upon a very valid point and relevant, which is related to maintenance and doing the correct maintenance. We actually, one of our clients is working on integrating a large language model into Evocon, or basically we know the error code of the machine, we know what happened to the machine, and then we can pull that information now, or kind of connect that information with the maintenance information of that machine, and provide then the operator or that maintenance crew with the necessary instruction, like depending on the error code. So there's definitely low hanging fruit also to AI in terms of use cases, which I would say that we are in the process of like figuring out as an industry. So what are the easiest things we can do? And then once we sort of get used to actually understanding how these systems work, only then we will then transition to more maybe complex use cases.
Yeah, that's definitely a good use case at all. Have we forgotten anything so far in our talk in what is the big value, what Evocon bring?
Yes, I think one of the things, so when I've been talking about Evocon, then there's two points really in terms of value, and we talked about this transparency, value of transparency, because that translates into business decisions. But the other value point, or the other problem that we are working on hard, and I think what we differentiate in is making sure that the tool is actually used. For I think the main driver for me personally, when I started working with in Evocon and seeing what sort of tools manufacturers are using, I was sort of confused. Like, if we are so used to using Spotify or Slack, the systems that are very intuitive and you want to use them, and I couldn't figure out why are manufacturers forced to use systems that are so hard and complicated. So this is one of the values that I think Evocon brings, is that we as a team and as a company, we have to make sure that the tool is actually being used. So it needs to be easy, it needs to be intuitive, because like manufacturing is hard in itself. As Elon Musk has said, it's the hardest thing probably is manufacturing. So, and then the tools that a manufacturer takes need to make it easier, not harder. So I would venture to say that one of the biggest values that we, in addition to transparency, bring is that it is a tool that it will actually be used. And we have many cases where the system doesn't need any training at all. We have an interesting example from Mars, where they were trying it out on two lines in a factory, and they were actually did training on one of the lines or the operators, and they just implemented basically the hardware that we talked about earlier on the other machine, but didn't do any training. And when they went back like a week later to see, how was the experience for operators, then the other line, which had no training, no nothing, didn't even know about it, had picked it up and started using it, because
Mm-hmm.
they also wanted to catch what were the actual reasons for the losses. So, and I think that's a point that is very easy to miss, but I think it's very crucial. You want a system, you want a tool that you actually want to use, which is, what we are doing every day in our mobile phones or anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I fully agree on that. As there are so many applications out there, a lot of times a solution is sold as the silver bullet to, for example, management to solve a particular problem. But then on the shop floor, it's not understood what value it brings, and then the tool just, if it's a let's put the image of a physical tool out, it just sits in the toolbox and collects dust. And that's the worst thing what can happen. You want a tool to be in used and to create value with the people which are using the tool. And therefore it needs to be easy, it needs to be intuitive, it needs to be cool, and it needs to get immediate value to the users on every level, from the shop floor people to the management.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's something that guides us every day. It needs to be easy. It needs to be modern. You need to want to use it. If that's the case, then I'm happy. If I hear anything else, then I will listen and we'll try to fix it.
Yes, I fully agree on that. And I love you guys' intention in that direction, that you want to have the Evocon tool that way. That's great.
Thank you.
We're coming already to the end of our episode. Thanks, Martin, for sharing all your insights about Evocon. Down in the show notes, we put a couple of links to the free demo, to your LinkedIn page, and to the Evocon page for people to get more information.
Absolutely. Do visit. And as I mentioned earlier, just run the free trial. It's not even a demo. You actually get everything that you need from us with no financial commitment, and try it out. If you don't like it, just ship it back. That's all. There is no strings attached.
Yeah, I fully agree on that, as I'm testing it myself. And so far I found good value in it, and I definitely can recommend that solution.